Well, the breaking news from today, after 87 years, the Washington football franchise is retiring their long-tenured and questionable nickname Redskins, as well as the team's Indian logo. I'm going to go over this article from the AP talking about what led them to this decision finally, maybe some possible new names that we talked about last week, and then where do we go from here? What other sports teams are next on the chopping block? But from the AP, Washington's NFL team drops Redskins' name after 87 years. The Washington NFL franchise announced Monday it is dropping the Redskins name and Indian head logo, bowing to recent pressures from sponsors and decades of criticisms that they are offensive to Native Americans. A new name must still be selected for one of the oldest and most storied teams in the National Football League, and it's unclear how soon that will happen. But for now, arguably the most polarizing name in North American professional sports is gone at a time of reckoning over racial injustice, iconography, and racism in the United States. The team said it is retiring the name and logo, that owner Dan Snyder and coach Ron Rivera are working closely to develop a new moniker and design. The announcement came on the old letterhead with the Redskins name because the team technically retains it until a new one is approved. As a kid who grew up in the D.C. area, it'll always be HTTR. Hail, the fight song, Hail to the Redskins, but looking forward to the future, starting quarterback Dwayne Haskins tweeted. The R in Hail to the Redskins could soon be replaced by Red Tails, Red Wolves, or Red Hawks. Red Tails, an homage to the Tuskegee Airmen from World War II, is the favorite on an online sports book, Bet Online. And the group said it would be honored and pleased to work with the organization during and after the name change process, should this name be adopted. This will be the first NFL team name change since the late 90s when the Tennessee Oilers became the Tennessee Titans 2 seasons after moving from Houston. I bet a lot of y'all didn't know that they were the Tennessee Oilers for a while there after moving. President Donald Trump tweeted last week criticizing the Redskins and Major League Baseball's Cleveland Indians for considering the name change, believes Native Americans will be angry at this, citing a 2016 Washington Post article showing 90% of Native Americans that aren't offended by the name. A survey since is discredited by experts. So after 2 weeks of review, they're going to change the name due to corporate sponsors. They're really just bound to the corporate sponsors, I think, and the backlash finally. Money talks, man. Money talks. FedEx, Nike, Pepsi, Bank of America, all lined up. So it's going since 1933. It's a long time, man, to lose this name. The NFL has not been around that long. The NFL, Native American advocates and experts have long criticized the name, called it a dictionary-defined racial slur. Over a dozen Native American leaders and organizations wrote to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell last week demanding an immediate end to the Washington use of the name. Goodell, who has fielded questions on the topics for years, said he supported the review. The NFL and Dan Snyder, we have to commend them on making the right call to change the name. And Oneida Indian Nation representative Ray Halliburton said, the leader of the Change the Mascot campaign. Dan Snyder won today because now he has a legacy that will be different from the racial slur that was the team name. I know that's not an easy thing to do, but it was the right thing to do. That's a good point. Dan Snyder might now be looked upon as a revolutionary and changing owner by getting rid of this name, when for years he's been criticized as a crap owner who runs a crap franchise, stodgy, didn't want to change the name, fought it every step of the way, puts together bad teams, does bad things with the cap, does bad things with his coaches, does bad things with his general managerships. So he was known as one of the worst owners in football, but now he might have this veneer, this sheen upon him as an owner looking down the road 20, 30, 40 years from now that, oh man, what a great progressive he was to change the name Redskins and get rid of the awful name. Don't get me wrong, the Redskins is an offensive term. I agree with that. I'm okay with the name change. Keep the colors, like I said, change names. I did the story on this last week. I thought it was going to get changed. It only took them 2 weeks or whatever to get it changed. So it's interesting that it's a good point to talk about his legacy. Let's look at the official release from the Redskins, like they said on their moniker or on their Twitter. On July 3rd, we announced the commencement of a thorough review of the team's name. That review has begun in earnest. As part of this process, we want to keep our sponsors, fans, and community apprised of our thinking as we go forward. Today, we are announcing we will be retiring the Redskins name and logo upon completion of this review. Dan Snyder and Coach Rivera are working closely to develop a new name and design approach that will enhance the standing of our proud tradition-rich franchise and inspire our sponsors, fans, and community for the next 100 years. Well, this one just made it 87 years, so maybe this next name might be offensive if it's only making it 100. It's only a little bit better than Redskins was. Like I said, FedEx, the $205 million sponsor of the team field, really put the pressure on, saying they would bow out with them if they didn't get this done. talking about corporate sponsors leading. MLB Braves and Blackhawks have no indication to change their name, which I didn't think they would. Our fight continues. Crystal Echo Hawk, great name by the way, of the Native American Advocacy Group, Illumini Native, said in a statement, "We will not rest until the offensive use of Native imagery, logos, and names are eradicated from professional, collegiate, and other sports. This time is now to stand in solidarity and declare that racism will not be tolerated." So it seems like they're getting a lot of praise for this rebranding. It's finally getting it done. Everyone's happy. I think everyone's happy with it. I'm happy with it. It's good to see name change. There was this much outrage. People just are uncomfortable with it, even if it's whatever. I know we can go down. We're going to go into more about the offensive stuff, but let's look at possible name changes. They may be a little bit in trouble here because this is kind of funny. A single guy has literally trademarked every name that has been listed as a possible name for the Redskins, or name replacement for the Redskins. So at this point, we don't know team owner Dan Snyder's preference, but several sensible options have been making the rounds. The Red Tails was the most popular, followed by the Warriors. Nope, a search of the U.S. Patent Trademark Database reveals that the trademark claims have already been filed for Red Tails and Warriors. And that's not all. It turns out a bunch of possible name replacements have active trademarks, and nearly all have been filed by one guy. So this one guy, Philip Martin McCauley, is located in Virginia and describes himself as an author and actuary. On the website, he set up for a few of these nicknames. There are pages for the Warriors, the Monuments, the Arrows, the Veterans, Pandas, Founders, Federals, and Red-tailed Hawks. The sites seem purely to exist to establish or maintain trademarks. At the top of every page is a basic title followed by a one-sentence description of number of players, scoring, and winning. It's particularly low rent, and the possibility that Snyder and the team are fighting with this guy over the new name for their 88-year-old franchise is, well, hilarious. In the end, it feels so very Washington. Snyder spent so much time refusing to change the team's name that he never made arrangements to protect the team itself for when the time actually came to change the name. He didn't even do it when the team's own quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, tweeted on July 3rd that he preferred the Washington Red Tails. There's a tweet. So when did McCauley file the trademark for the Washington Red Tails, do you ask? July 5th, 2 days after the Redskins announced that they were looking to change their name. Like, who the hell is in charge of the PR department or whatever operation? I don't even know what this would go under, but somebody's got to be like, lawyers, like, hey, start scooping up all these name possibilities, and then we can come up with one. Because apparently there's rumors that they had the name picked out, but they're dealing in litigation with probably this guy who owns the rights to one of these names. They're fighting the trademark to get. Which, it's hilarious. Like, how inept can you be? Like I just said, Dan Snyder, gonna go down as a great owner now. Like, his ineptitude is hilarious. I'm sure they'll get it done because it seems like it's a bunch of BS nonsense with these trademarks. Obviously, he's trying to just make a quick buck and scam them. Not necessarily scam them, but, get one over on them. So they might be paying a big price for this, but who knows? I'm sure they have the best lawyers and things. I like the Red Tails, the Tuskegee Airmen. You could do the same colors, same looking thing. It's history. Warriors is good if you want to stick with the Native American feel to it. I don't know, the Washington Monuments is good. I don't know, there's a lot of good options out there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of this for your players. But where do we go from here? Because I'm a little cheap, the Washington Post put this article out. You can't read the article. You got to pay for the Washington Post. But is an opinion piece. The Texas Rangers need to go because they were forces of violence of agents of white supremacy. It's from this woman right here, Karen Attia. I don't know how to pronounce them. I'm terrible with names. She spent the last week reading about the horrific atrocities against the Indians, Mexicans, and black people that the historic Texas Rangers were responsible for during Texas' early history. The name Rangers must go. People really push back about this. It's the slippery slope argument. They said the Redskins were it. We're not going to change all these names. It's, they're just offensive. But now everything's offensive. The Texas Rangers are still a physical law group in the state of Texas. So how about if it's really an issue, we change that name first? I mean, Minnesota Vikings, bunch of pillaging, raping marauders they were. It's just everything has negative connotations throughout history. It's, nothing is perfect at this point. I do love this post from this man where he went over every Major League Baseball team and why it's offensive. The Arizona Diamondbacks, these are snakes, and snakes are unsafe. How about the Arizona cactus fruit? Atlanta Braves infers everyone else is not brave, also Indian. Atlanta Peaches, I like the Atlanta Peaches. Baltimore Orioles, birds, really? What did they do to you? Other ones, Houston Astros, they cheated, but the media told us they hated it. The Lions, Los Angeles Angels, depictions of angels were created by racists in Europe. He's being egregious, obviously. It's flamboyant and hilarious. The New York Yankees reminds us of the Civil War. Nice try. It's so the Mets, the other New York team, is racist, so the Mets are guilty by association. Oh, it's funny, it's comedy, but it is. Where do we go from here? Is this enough? Is the Redskins changing up? It's tough to say. You know, we're at a very difficult time in this country, and we're walking on a razor thin edge from tradition, offensive, not offensive. It's a tough call. I don't want to be the people in these types of situations that have to make these big time decisions. I'm just glad I get to comment on it, and I'm glad y'all are staying tuned. So if you could like this video, share it on social media, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to make sure you get those daily notifications on these episodes, and I will see you guys tomorrow.